He reached for her. Minho didn't even open his eyes first. Just stretched his arm across the bed, fingers searching for Jada's warmth. Instead, they hit cold sheets. His eyes snapped open. 5:47 a.m. glowed red from the alarm clock. The Los Angeles skyline was just starting to lighten outside the floor-to-ceiling windows of his Wilshire Boulevard penthouse. Jada? His voice sounded weird in the quiet. No answer. He sat up fast, looking around the bedroom. Her side of the closet door hung open. Empty hangers where her clothes should be. Her suitcase gone. Then he saw it. The engagement ring sitting on the nightstand. The same one he'd slipped back onto her finger last night after a year of separation. A note beside it. I can't be the reason you die. Minho grabbed the note, reading it twice. What the hell did that mean? Last night had been good. Better than good. After months of trying to win her back, she'd finally agreed to stay. They'd talked until 3 a.m. She'd put the ring back on. She'd stayed. And now she was gone. He jumped out of bed, suddenly wide awake. Something was wrong. Jada didn't just leave without making coffee. She made coffee even when she was mad at him. Even when they fought. Minho moved through the penthouse, checking rooms. Bathroom, her toothbrush gone. Kitchen, coffee pot cold and empty. Living room, the book she'd been reading still on the side table, half finished. She hadn't planned to leave it behind. This wasn't a quick exit after an argument. This was calculated. Planned. He headed straight for the hidden safe behind the TV in his office. Punched in the code with steady fingers even as his heart raced. The door swung open. $50,000 cash. Still there. 2 passports. Still there. His Glock 19. Still there. The flash drive was gone. Shit. The word came out as a whisper. That small black drive contained everything, names, dates, account numbers. Every official in Los Angeles who'd ever taken money from the organization. Every cop and judge they had in their pocket. It wasn't just evidence. It was protection. Insurance. As long as Minho had that drive, nobody could touch him. And Jada had just walked out with it. He grabbed his burner phone from the nightstand where it had been sitting under the ring. Called Jada's number. It rang. And rang. And rang. You've reached Jada. Leave a message. He hung up. Went back to the note. I can't be the reason you die. Slowly, it clicked. Jada knew about the drive. She'd seen him use it once, 2 years ago, when the feds got too close. She knew what it meant. And she thought, wrongly, that if she destroyed it, his enemies would have no reason to hunt him anymore. She was trying to protect him. She didn't understand. The drive wasn't the danger. It was the only thing keeping the danger at bay. Without it, Minho wasn't safe. And now neither was she. Where would she go? Not back to her apartment. Too obvious. Not to a friend. She'd lost most of them when she married him. Not to the police. She knew too much. Would incriminate herself. His burner phone buzzed in his hand. Unknown number. Hello. Nothing but breathing. Then the call ended. 10 seconds later, a photo arrived. Jada walking down a street. Shot from behind. Her camel coat pulled tight against the morning cold. She had no idea someone was watching her. Below the photo, 3 words. She has something of ours. Minho's blood went ice cold. They already knew. They were already hunting her. And Jada had no idea what she'd just walked into. Jada thought stealing that flash drive would keep Minho safe. Now she's the one being hunted. She walked away thinking she was saving his life, but she just put a target on her own back. And Minho? He's got until sundown to make an impossible choice. The woman he loves or the leverage that keeps him alive. Before we begin, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Your support helps us bring you more wonderful stories, and trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming. Now, let's get into the story. Minho didn't panic. Panic got people killed. He moved fast with purpose. First, the security system. He pulled up the building's cameras on his laptop. The penthouse had a private elevator and cameras everywhere. He needed to see when Jada left and whether she left alone. The footage from 4 a.m. to 5:30 a.m. was missing. Not glitchy. Deleted. That wasn't Jada. She didn't know how to access building security. Someone else deleted this footage. Someone who knew she was leaving. Someone who wanted to follow her without being seen. He tried calling Duck-Soo, his most trusted contact in the organization. No answer. Called again. Nothing. Third try, someone picked up. Duck-Soo. A pause. A voice that definitely wasn't Duck-Soo's. He's busy.
Who's calling?
Min-ho hung up. His stomach dropped. If Duck-Soo was compromised, someone was cleaning house. And if they were cleaning house, they already knew about Jada. His burner buzzed again. Text from Taesung, his lieutenant for the past 8 years.
Hyung. We need to talk.
Urgent. 30 minutes. The usual place. Something felt off. Taesung never texted for urgent matters. He called. Always. But Min-ho needed information, and Taesung might be the only one who had it. He showered fast, dressed in dark clothes. Nothing flashy. Nothing memorable. Retrieved the Glock from the safe, tucked it under his jacket. At the front door, he paused, looking back at the empty penthouse. The ring was in his pocket now. He didn't know why he took it. He just couldn't leave it there. The note was folded in his wallet. The elevator doors closed. His phone buzzed again. Another text from Taesung. This time not words, but a photo. Jada again. Different street now. Still from behind. Still unaware. Below the photo. Business is business, Hyung. Choose the drive or the girl. Min-ho stared at the screen as the elevator descended. Taesung wasn't just aware of the situation. He was tracking Jada. He'd been watching. This wasn't just about a missing flash drive anymore. This was a power play. And Jada was caught in the middle. Min-ho pulled up to the parking garage under his building, deciding against meeting Taesung right away. He needed more information first. The photo on his phone was disturbing enough, Jada being followed, photographed without her knowledge. But the message beneath it felt like a knife against his throat. She has something of ours. Not yours.
Ours.
Someone in the organization already knew about the missing flash drive. They were treating it as collective property, not his personal insurance policy. That changed everything. Back in his penthouse office, Min-ho wasted no time. He pulled up the building's security system on his laptop, a perk of owning the top floor. He needed to see when Jada left and whether anyone followed her. The interface loaded quickly, showing camera feeds from the lobby, elevator, and parking garage. He checked the timestamps, scrolling back to around 4 a.m. That's when the footage simply stopped. Not frozen or corrupted. Deleted.
Clean.
Professional. The feed resumed at 5:30 a.m., showing nothing but empty hallways and a sleepy security guard. Damn it. Jada wouldn't know how to do this. She was smart, but not in this way. Someone else had deleted this footage. Someone who knew she was leaving and wanted to cover their tracks. Or cover hers. He checked his watch. 6:22 a.m. Taesung was waiting, but Min-ho needed to try one more thing. He dialed Duck-Soo. The old man had been his most reliable contact for years, handling logistics, cleaning up problems, keeping information flowing. If anyone knew what was happening, it would be him. No answer. Min-ho tried again. Still nothing. Third call. Someone picked up. Duck-Soo.
A pause.
Then a voice that definitely wasn't Duck-Soo's. Younger. Harder. He's busy. Who's asking? Min-ho felt a chill run down his spine. Where is he? Like I said. Busy. The voice was flat. Uninterested. Call back later. The line went dead. Min-ho set the phone down slowly. Duck-Soo never let anyone answer his phone. Never. If someone else had it now, that meant Duxu was either compromised or worse. And if they'd gotten to Duxu, they knew everything, including what the flash drive contained. His burner buzzed again. Another text from Taesung.
Hyung.
Where are you? Running late. Minho stared at the message. Something felt wrong. Taesung had been his right hand for 8 years. Loyal. Efficient. Dependable. But that photo of Jada hadn't come from a stranger. It came from someone who knew how to find her. Someone who knew about the drive. He typed a response. Traffic. 15 minutes. He needed to think. If Taesung was involved, going to meet him could be walking into a trap. But if Taesung wasn't involved, he was the only ally Minho had left. Minho went to his bedroom and changed clothes quickly. Dark jeans, black shirt, leather jacket, worn enough to be unmemorable. He strapped the Glock to his side, making sure the jacket covered it completely. As an afterthought, he checked his personal phone. It was still charging in the kitchen. 63% battery. He disconnected it and slipped it into his pocket alongside the burner. The ring and note were already secured in his wallet. Back at his laptop, he tried one last thing. Jada's location. They shared their positions through an app, something she had insisted on early in their marriage.
For safety, she'd said.
He'd agreed because it seemed to make her feel better. He'd never imagined needing it like this. The app loaded. Nothing. Her location services must be turned off. Smart girl. His burner buzzed again. This isn't like you, Hyung. Everything okay? Minho's jaw tightened. The message seemed innocent enough.
Concerned even.
But Taesung had never been the type to send check-in texts. He waited.
He observed.
He never pushed.
Until now.
Minho closed the laptop and headed for the door. Whatever game was being played, he couldn't figure it out sitting here. He needed to look Taesung in the eyes. Read his body language. See if 8 years of loyalty had meant anything at all. The elevator doors slid open. He stepped inside, checking his watch again. 6:38 a.m. If Jada left around 5 a.m., she had almost 2 hours. In Los Angeles traffic, that meant she could be anywhere by now. But she wasn't running randomly. Jada never did anything without a plan. She'd go somewhere with purpose.
Somewhere that meant something.
He just had to figure out where. The elevator descended smoothly, floor by floor. His mind raced through possibilities. Her apartment? Too obvious. A friend's place? She didn't have many left in LA. Her old office? Maybe. The elevator reached the parking level. The doors opened. His burner buzzed one final time. He checked it. Not text. A photo. Jada. Walking down a different street now. Still from behind. The angle was closer. She was clutching her purse tighter, close to her body, where the flash drive would be. Below the photo, 3 words. Business is business, Hyung. Choose the drive or the girl. Minho's blood went cold. The message was signed with Taesung's name, but this wasn't just Taesung making a move. This was something bigger. The elevator doors began to close. Minho put his hand out to stop them, stepping back inside. He pressed the button for the ground floor instead of returning to his penthouse. He couldn't risk walking to his car in the parking garage now. Too easy to get cornered. As the doors closed again, he hit reply on the message. If you touch her, there won't be a place in this world you can hide. The response came immediately. You have until 2 p.m. The boss lands at 6. Your choice, Hyung. The boss. Kwon Sung-jin. The head of the organization. The man who ran everything from a distance, only visiting LA when something required his personal attention. If the boss was landing today, this wasn't just about a missing flash drive. This was about power. About position. About who would be standing when the dust settled. And suddenly, Minho understood what was happening. This wasn't an attack. It was a coup. Minho stepped out of his building through a side exit, scanning the street for unfamiliar cars or people who didn't belong. The morning sun was barely up, casting long shadows between the buildings of Koreatown. A few delivery trucks rumbled past. Early shift workers waited at bus stops. Nothing obviously suspicious. He walked 3 blocks before flagging down a taxi. No point taking his own car if someone was watching the building. Western Avenue, he told the driver. The noodle shop across from the pharmacy. As the taxi pulled into traffic, Minho checked both his phones again. Nothing new from Taesung. Jada's location still dark. He stared out the window, putting pieces together. The boss landing at 6 p.m. changed everything. Kwon Sung-jin never came to LA unless something major was happening. He ran everything from a distance, letting lieutenants like Minho handle daily operations. If he was coming now, someone had called him. Someone wanted him to witness whatever was about to happen. The taxi dropped him half a block from the noodle shop. Minho paid cash and waited until the car disappeared before approaching. The place was a narrow storefront with steamed-up windows and a flickering neon sign that never seemed to get fixed. Open 24 hours, but never busy. Perfect for conversations nobody wanted overheard. Minho did a quick sweep of the street, noting exits and sight lines. Old habits. Then he pushed open the door, the bell jingling overhead. Inside, it was nearly empty. An old woman behind the counter watched a small TV. One customer in the corner reading a newspaper.
And Taesung.
Back booth, steam rising from a bowl of ramen in front of him. He was dressed too well for 7 a.m., charcoal turtleneck under an expensive wool coat. His dark hair perfectly styled despite the early hour. The thin scar running from his left ear to his jaw stood out against his pale skin. A souvenir from a knife fight years ago, before Minho had taken him under his wing. Taesung was smiling. That was the first warning. Minho slid into the booth across from him, keeping his right hand free, close to his weapon. Hyung. Taesung nodded, still smiling. You look tired. Where is she? No greeting? No, how are you, brother? Just straight to business. Taesung picked up his chopsticks, stirred his noodles casually. The photo. Where was it taken? She's safe. For now. Taesung slurped a mouthful of noodles. But that depends entirely on you. Minho kept his voice low. What do you want? Taesung set down his chopsticks. The smile faded. What I've always wanted, Hyung. What you have. What you never deserved. Minho didn't move.
Didn't blink.
Explain. It's simple. Taesung leaned forward. The boss found out about your personal use of organization resources. The ledger wasn't meant to be your private insurance policy. It was meant to protect all of us. That's not what this is about. No. Taesung raised an eyebrow. The boss thinks differently. He ordered an audit. A review of your value to the organization. And you volunteered. I did. Taesung's smile returned. In exchange for your position when this is over. The pieces clicked into place. Taesung hadn't just found out about the missing drive. He'd been waiting for an opportunity. Watching. Planning. The deleted security footage. The photo of Jada. This wasn't spontaneous. This was calculated. So you're using my wife as leverage. Ex-wife, Taesung corrected. And yes, she took something that belongs to the organization. Something the boss wants back before he lands. Minho kept his expression neutral, but his mind was racing. Jada had no idea what she'd walked into. She thought she was protecting him by taking the drive. She didn't realize she was playing right into Taesung's hands. What's the deal? Minho asked. Bring the drive to the restaurant on Vermont at 2 p.m. The handoff happens there. You give me the drive, fully intact, and step down from your position. In exchange, your ex-wife walks away clean. And if I refuse? Taesung shrugged. Then she becomes a liability we need to eliminate. Nothing personal, Hyung. Just business. The casual way he said it, like they were discussing the weather, made Minho's blood boil. But he kept his face calm. Showing emotion now would only give Taesung more power. The boss lands at 6 p.m., Taesung continued. He wants this handled before dinner. No mess. No complications. You've been planning this for a while. For a while. Taesung nodded. You got comfortable. You got soft. You started thinking you could have both the power and the woman. That's not how this works. And you think the boss will just hand everything to you? I think I've proven my loyalty. And I think you've proven the opposite. Taesung leaned back in the booth. You spent years protecting her, keeping her name out of files, making sure she was untouchable. The boss noticed. Minho's jaw tightened. He had done that. Used his position to shield Jada from the organization, even after they separated. He'd thought he was being careful. Clearly, he hadn't been careful enough. You have until 2 p.m., Taesung said, standing up and adjusting his coat. Bring the drive.
Come alone.
No police, no games, or she disappears. How do I know you'll keep your word? You don't. Taesung smiled again. But what choice do you have? He walked out, the bell jingling as the door closed behind him. Minho sat alone in the booth, the untouched bowl of ramen growing cold. He had 7 hours to find Jada, get the drive, and figure out how to keep them both alive. 7 hours before everything ended. The old woman behind the counter glanced at him, then looked away quickly when she caught his eye. Even she knew better than to get involved. Minho pulled out his personal phone again. Tried the tracking app one more time. Still nothing. Jada was too smart for that. But she wasn't running randomly. She had the drive for a reason. She meant to do something with it. Destroy it, probably. She thought if the evidence disappeared, he'd be safe. She didn't understand that in his world, removing leverage didn't make you safer. It made you a target. He closed his eyes, trying to think like her. Where would she go? What would she do first? The flash drive was encrypted. Jada didn't have the skills to break that encryption herself. She'd need help. But who would she trust with something this dangerous? His eyes snapped open. There was one place. One person. He pulled up his contacts, scrolling to a name he hadn't used in years. Marcus Chun. A digital forensics expert who'd helped them once before. If Jada remembered him, that's who she'd go to. As he was about to call, his burner phone buzzed. Unknown number. A new photo. Jada again, this time entering a building downtown. Gray concrete. Tall windows. He recognized it immediately. The law library. The place where they first met 7 years ago when she was a second-year law student and he was something else entirely. She wasn't running. She was trying to help, and she had no idea she was walking straight into a trap. Jada watched Minho sleep. 4:32 a.m. The bedroom was dark except for the city lights filtering through the windows. He looked younger when he slept. Peaceful. The hard lines around his mouth softened. The constant alertness gone from his face. This was the man she'd fallen in love with. Not the one who came home with blood on his cuffs and wouldn't tell her why. She'd been awake for hours, lying perfectly still so she wouldn't disturb him. Their conversation last night had felt so real, like maybe they could start over. When he slid the ring back onto her finger, she'd wanted to believe him. Wanted to believe things could be different. But that phone call 3 weeks ago changed everything. Ms. Jefferson, the man had said, his voice calm and professional. We have some questions about your husband's business activities. We were hoping you might be willing to cooperate. She'd hung up immediately. But the damage was done. They were watching him, which meant they were watching her too. Then last week, that same car outside her apartment building. 2 days in a row. Dark sedan. Tinted windows. Never moving from the same spot. Jada slipped out of bed carefully. Minho didn't stir. He was exhausted. They talked until nearly 3 a.m. She moved silently through the penthouse to where her suitcase waited, already packed and hidden in the hall closet. She'd been planning this for days. But the suitcase wasn't enough. She needed to do more. She needed to protect him. Jada knew where the safe was. She'd watched him open it once, 2 years ago, when he thought she was asleep. The combination was their wedding date. Arrogant of him to think she wouldn't figure it out. She entered the numbers with shaking fingers. 0-4-1-8-1-7. The door swung open silently.
Cash. Passports. Gun.
Flash drive. She only needed the drive. That little piece of plastic was the reason people were watching. The reason calls came from blocked numbers. The reason Min-ho couldn't sleep through the night. If she destroyed it, there'd be no evidence. No leverage. No reason for anyone to come after him. She slipped the drive into her coat pocket. Closed the safe. Took one last look around the penthouse. In the bedroom doorway, she paused. Min-ho was still asleep, one arm stretched across where she had been lying. She slid the engagement ring off her finger, set it on his nightstand with a note. I can't be the reason you die. Her hand hovered near his face. She almost touched him, almost woke him, almost stayed. She didn't. The front door clicked shut behind her at 4:53 a.m. Jada took the service elevator down to avoid the night security guard. The parking garage was empty except for a few residents' cars. Her Honda Accord was parked in a visitor spot. She'd never moved her things back in, even after staying the past week. Smart decision, as it turned out. She drove out onto Wilshire Boulevard, the streets nearly empty at this hour. Her phone showed 5:17 a.m. Her first stop was a 24-hour drive-through for coffee. Black. No sugar. She needed to stay sharp. Jada had a plan. Not a great one, but the best she could manage. The flash drive was encrypted. She'd seen Min-ho use a password to access it once. She couldn't destroy what she couldn't access. She needed to decrypt it first. Marcus Chun might help. They'd gone to law school together. He'd switched to digital forensics afterward, now worked as a consultant for tech companies. He owed her a favor from years back. She'd helped him through a nasty divorce. She pulled into a gas station, topped off her tank, and sent Marcus a text. Need help with encryption. Urgent. Can we meet? No response. Too early, probably. She tried calling. Straight to voicemail. Marcus, it's Jada. I need help with something. Call me when you get this. She hung up, drumming her fingers on the steering wheel. Without Marcus, she'd need another approach. The law library downtown opened at 7 a.m. They had computers with specialized legal research software. Not ideal for cracking encryption, but better than nothing. Plus, there'd be people around. Safety in numbers. As she merged onto the freeway, her phone rang. Unknown number. Her heart skipped. Hello. Ms. Jefferson. The same voice from 3 weeks ago. I see you've made a decision. She hung up, hands suddenly shaking. How did they know? How did they find her so quickly? Unless they'd been watching all along. She checked her rearview mirror. Nothing suspicious. Just early morning traffic. But that didn't mean anything. They could be anywhere. 20 minutes later, she parked a block from the law library. 6:45 a.m. Still 15 minutes before opening. She waited in her car, watching the street through her mirrors. Her phone buzzed. A text from the same unknown number. We know what you took. It doesn't belong to you. Jada's breath caught. They knew about the flash drive. Already. She powered off her phone completely, then removed the battery for good measure. Min-ho had taught her that phones could be tracked even when powered off unless the battery was removed. At exactly 7 a.m., she walked to the library entrance. The security guard nodded as she passed, recognizing her from her frequent visits during law school. Some things never changed. Inside, the library was quiet. Just a few early researchers and the smell of old books and floor polish. Jada headed for the computer terminals in the back, away from windows and the main entrance. She sat at a terminal, slipping the flash drive from her pocket. It was so small. Hard to believe something this tiny could hold information dangerous enough to get people killed. Jada inserted the drive, waited for it to load. A password prompt appeared. She tried a few combinations: their anniversary, his birthday, his mother's name. Nothing worked. After the third failed attempt, a warning flashed on screen. Warning: one more incorrect attempt will permanently lock this device. She quickly ejected the drive. She couldn't risk locking it. That would defeat the entire purpose. Jada leaned back in the chair, closing her eyes. This had seemed simpler in theory. Take the drive, destroy the evidence, save Minho. Now she was stuck in a library with no plan, no backup, and people looking for her. That's when the memory hit her. 7 years ago. This same library. She was a second-year law student researching corporate liability for a paper. He was sitting across from her, reading a book of Korean poetry. Completely out of place in a law library. She'd asked him for the time. He told her the time, and then told her she was highlighting the wrong section of the case. That precedent was overturned in 2014, he'd said. You'll lose points. She should have been annoyed.
Instead, she'd laughed.
That was the beginning. Jada opened her eyes, suddenly aware of how vulnerable she was. She needed to keep moving. But where? Their old apartment. The small place above the dry cleaner on 3rd Street where they'd lived when they first got married, before Minho's rise, before everything changed. They'd kept the lease even after separating. Paid the rent every month. Neither of them could explain why. Sentimentality, maybe. Or maybe they both knew they'd need an escape hatch someday. Jada gathered her things, tucking the flash drive back into her coat pocket. She walked quickly toward the rear exit, avoiding the main entrance where cameras might be. As she pushed the door open, the cold morning air hit her face. She turned right, heading toward the parking lot where she'd left her car. She didn't see the man in the gray jacket who'd been watching from the periodical section. She didn't see him pick up his phone and take a photo of her as she left. But halfway to her car, that prickling sensation on the back of her neck made her turn. The street behind her was empty. Too empty. Jada walked faster, fumbling for her keys. She needed to reassemble her phone. Call Minho. Tell him she'd made a mistake. Tell him she was sorry. But first, she needed to get to the car. Get somewhere safe. As she turned the corner toward the parking lot, she realized her mistake. She'd left her car too far away. And someone was definitely following her now. Minho left the noodle shop, mind racing. The law library. Of course. That's where they'd met 7 years ago. Where she'd asked him for the time, and he'd corrected her legal research instead. Where everything began. He needed to get there.
Fast.
But first he needed better tracking. The burner phone couldn't access the apps he needed. His personal phone, the one with Find My Friends still linked to Jada's account, was back at the penthouse. Damn it, he muttered, flagging down another taxi. 20 minutes back to Wilshire. 20 minutes she didn't have. Traffic was brutal now, morning rush hour in full swing. The taxi crawled through Koreatown, every red light feeling like a personal attack. Minho checked his watch repeatedly, jaw tight. 8:22 a.m. When they hit standstill traffic on Wilshire, he threw cash at the driver and got out, walking the last 3 blocks. Faster on foot. At his building, he avoided the main entrance where the doorman might slow him down. Instead, he used his key card on the service entrance, taking the stairs 2 at a time up to the penthouse. Paranoia kept him from using the elevator. Too easy to get trapped. His personal phone sat on the kitchen counter where he'd left it. 67% battery. He grabbed it, opened Find My Friends, and waited as the app searched for Jada's location. A blue dot appeared on the map. Downtown. Moving east. Away from the law library. He zoomed in. She was headed toward Little Tokyo. No. Further east. Then it clicked. Their old apartment. The first place they'd lived together. A small unit above a dry cleaner on 3rd Street. They'd kept the lease even after separating, neither willing to be the one to let it go. She was going home. Minho was about to leave when he noticed something on the app. Another moving toward the same location. Not labeled, but he recognized the device ID.
Taesung.
Minho's blood went cold. Taesung was tracking her too. And he was closer, much closer. The map showed Jada about 10 minutes from the apartment. Taesung less than 5. Minho was at least 15 minutes away, even if traffic cooperated. He was going to be too late. Before we go any deeper into this chase, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Now, let's get back to the story. Minho flew down the stairs and out to the street. His car was still in the parking garage, but that meant going back through the main entrance. Too slow. He spotted a motorcycle courier at a red light and approached, pulling out a wad of cash. "I need your bike. Emergency." He held out enough money to buy 3 new motorcycles. 2 hours. Keep the helmet. The courier stared at the cash, then at Minho's desperate face. Nodded once. Deal made. Minho tucked his phone into his jacket, keeping the map visible. Then he gunned the engine, weaving through traffic with a recklessness that felt like the only appropriate response to the situation. Jada had no idea what she was walking into. Taesung wouldn't be alone. He never was. And he wouldn't hesitate to use force, not with the boss landing today. The motorcycle cut through gridlocked streets, drawing honks and curses. Minho ignored them all, eyes flicking between the road and his phone. Both dots were now at the apartment building. He was still 8 minutes out. Too slow. Too late. Jada climbed the narrow stairs to the apartment, key already in her hand. The hallway smelled like industrial detergent and old carpet, familiar in a way that made her throat tight. This place had been home once. Before Minho's promotion. Before the penthouse. Before she realized exactly what his business involved. She unlocked the door and stepped inside. The apartment was exactly as they'd left it. Small kitchen with a chipped counter. Worn couch they'd bought secondhand. Window overlooking an alley and a slice of sky. For a moment, she felt something like peace. Then she heard footsteps on the stairs. Heavy.
Fast.
Not Minho. He moved quietly. Always. She didn't turn around when the door opened behind her. Ms. Jefferson. The voice was cool, vaguely amused. Or should I say Mrs. Jang? I never know which you prefer. She recognized the voice instantly. Taesung. Minho's right hand. The man who'd always watched her with calculating eyes at company events, like he was memorizing her weaknesses. How did you find me? You're predictable, he said, closing the door. And your phone's location services were on until an hour ago. Sloppy. Jada's hand tightened around the flash drive in her pocket. What do you want? The drive. Hand it over and you walk away. Simple. She finally turned to face him. Taesung was leaning against the closed door, looking completely relaxed in his expensive coat. But his eyes were sharp, focused. And if I don't, he smiled. The scar on his jaw stretched. Then we have a longer conversation. I need to know Minho is safe first. Taesung's eyebrows rose slightly. You think you're in a position to negotiate? That's optimistic. The drive is encrypted, she said, forcing confidence into her voice. Even if you take it, you can't open it without the key. His smile faltered. Just slightly. Bluffing. Try me. She held his gaze. 256-bit encryption. Biometric lock. Only one person can access it. Who? Jada didn't answer. From below, the sound of a motorcycle engine cut through the silence. Then footsteps on the stairs, fast, heavy. Taesung's head turned toward the door. Jada's breath caught. The door flew open. There was Minho, gun drawn, eyes locked on Taesung. His face was flushed from running, hair wild from the motorcycle ride. Get away from her, he said, voice deadly quiet. Taesung didn't look surprised. Almost looked pleased. He raised his hand slowly, not in surrender, but in a calm-down gesture.
Hyung.
You made good time. I said get away from her. Taesung took one step back. Just one. I'm just here to talk. Collect what belongs to the organization. No one has to get hurt. Minho's eyes flicked to Jada. Are you okay? She nodded, throat too tight for words. She's not part of this, Minho said, returning his attention to Taesung. She made herself part of it when she opened your safe. I didn't know, Jada started. It doesn't matter what you knew. Taesung cut her off, looking back to Minho. What matters is what she took, and what you're going to give back. The room went still. 3 people, trapped in a space too small for the weight of what was happening. Minho between the door and Taesung, gun steady in his hand. Jada against the far wall, the flash drive burning in her pocket like a live coal. No one moved. No one spoke. Then Taesung smiled again. Wider this time, genuine amusement in his eyes. You know my men are already outside, right?
2 in the alley.
1 on the roof across the street. He shook his head. You're not shooting your way out of this, Young. Not without her getting hurt. Minho's expression didn't change. But something in his eyes did, a cold calculation replacing the immediate anger. Then what do you want? I told you at the noodle shop.
The drive.
Decrypted. Verified. Then everyone walks away. And I'm supposed to trust you? Do you have a choice? Silence fell again, heavy with the weight of impossible decisions. It was Jada who finally broke it. The drive is useless to you, she said quietly. Both men turned to look at her. I added a failsafe.
2 years ago.
Minho asked me to. Minho's eyes widened slightly. He'd forgotten. Or never thought it would matter. Biometric lock, she continued. My thumbprint. If the drive isn't authenticated every 30 days, the contents self-delete. Taesung's jaw tightened. You're bluffing. You want to bet your future on that? She stood taller now, voice steady. I'll decrypt it. All of it. Full access. But on my terms. Which are? We do this in public. Cameras. Witnesses. Somewhere you can't make us disappear. Taesung's eyes moved between them, recalculating. The boss won't like this. The boss wants results, Jada said. You deliver the files before he lands, you're a hero. You show up empty-handed, you're a problem. Your choice. The apartment went silent again. Taesung staring at Jada. Minho watching Taesung. The weight of 1,000 unspoken threats hanging in the air between them. Finally, Taesung nodded once. The restaurant on Vermont. 9:55 1 hour. Just the 4 of us, you, her, me, one of my men. His eyes hardened. Anyone else shows up, anyone tips off the cops, and this ends differently. He edged past Minho, who kept the gun trained on him until he reached the door. 1 hour, Taesung repeated. Then he was gone, footsteps fading down the stairs. Minho lowered the gun slowly, turned to Jada. For a moment, they just looked at each other. All the things they needed to say stuck somewhere between anger and relief. You should have told me, Minho said finally. Told you what? That I was leaving? That I was taking the drive? She laughed, bitter, exhausted. When was I supposed to do that, Minho? While you were sleeping. While you were pretending everything was fine. I wasn't pretending. Really? Her voice cracked. Because that's all we've been doing for years. The apartment door clicked shut behind Taesung, leaving Minho and Jada alone in a silence that felt like it might suffocate them both. The tiny living room seemed to shrink even further. 7 years of history pressing in on them from all sides. Minho tucked the gun back into his waistband. Checked his watch. 10:07 a.m. We have less than an hour. His voice sounded strange in the small space. Jada nodded, not meeting his eyes. Her fingers kept touching her coat pocket where the flash drive sat. Why did you do it? He asked. Why now? 3 weeks ago, I got a call. She moved to the window, looking down at the alley rather than at him. Someone asking questions about your business activities. Wanting me to cooperate. Minho's jaw tightened. FBI. I don't know. They didn't say. She turned back to face him. Then last week, I noticed a car outside my apartment. Same car, same spot. 2 days straight. Just waiting. Why didn't you tell me? Would it have mattered? Would you have done anything differently? Her voice hardened. Or Would you have just told me I was being paranoid? That everything was fine? That this was all just business? Minho had no answer for that. I thought if I destroyed the drive, there'd be nothing left to come after you for. She pulled the flash drive from her pocket, held it up. No evidence. No leverage. No reason to keep watching. That's not how it works. I know that now. She set the drive on the kitchen counter. I know I just made everything worse. Minho stepped closer, careful to move slowly, like approaching a wounded animal. Is it true? About the biometric lock. She nodded. You asked me to set it up. After that federal case 2 years ago. Remember? Insurance, you called it. In case you were ever arrested. He did remember. Vaguely. One of those contingency plans he'd put in place and then forgotten about. He'd never expected Jada to be the one to use it against him. So, you can access the files?
Yes.
My thumbprint unlocks the first layer of encryption. She hesitated. But there's something else. Minho waited, the look on her face telling him he wasn't going to like what came next. I can also trigger a full deletion.
Permanent.
Unrecoverable. She met his eyes finally. That's what I was planning to do at the library. Destroy everything so no one could use it against you. Minho stared at her. This woman he'd spent years with, this woman he thought he knew completely, had been keeping secrets of her own. Taesung doesn't know that.
No.
He thinks I'm just the key. He doesn't know I can destroy it too. The implications sank in. Taesung thought he needed Jada to unlock the files. He didn't realize she could wipe them instead. That changes things, Minho said quietly. Does it? We're still outnumbered. Still trapped. Minho moved to the window, checking the alley below. A dark sedan was parked at one end. One of Taesung's men, just as promised. The other would be at the front of the building. And the third on the roof across the street. Professional. Thorough. Exactly what he'd taught Taesung to be. How many men does Taesung have total? Jada asked. 4, maybe 5 that I know of. Minho turned back to her. But that's not counting whoever else has joined his side since this started. Since what started? What's really happening, Minho? He sighed, running a hand through his hair. The boss is coming. Kwon Sung-jin, the head of the organization. He only visits LA when something major needs his attention. And he's coming because of the drive?
No.
He's coming because Taesung called him. This is a power move. Taesung wants my position, and he's using the drive as an excuse to make it happen. Jada sank onto the worn couch, the weight of the situation settling over her. So, I just handed him exactly what he needed. You didn't know. I should have. She looked up at him, eyes suddenly hard. I spent 4 years married to you. I saw the signs. I just chose to ignore them. Minho checked his watch again. 10:18 a.m. Time slipping away. We need a plan for the restaurant. Jada stood, steel entering her spine. I have one. I go in, pretend to decrypt the drive. But I wipe it instead. By the time Taesung realizes, we need to be gone. He'll check the files immediately. Not if I make it complicated enough. I can add steps. Make it look like a normal decryption process. How long would that buy us? Maybe a minute. 2 if we're lucky. Not enough time. Not nearly enough. Then we need a distraction, Minho said. Something big enough to let us get out before he realizes what happened. What kind of distraction? Minho's mind raced through possibilities, each one more desperate than the last. Fire alarm, he said finally. Most restaurant kitchens have an emergency system. If we can trigger that, everyone evacuates. Confusion.
Crowds.
We use that to slip away. And if that doesn't work? He didn't answer. They both knew what happened if the plan failed. Jada nodded slowly, accepting the risk. I need my phone to make the deletion look like decryption. They'll check you for weapons. I'm not bringing any. Just the phone, the laptop, and the drive.
She paused.
What about you? Minho touched the gun at his waist. I'll have to hide this somewhere near the restaurant. Recover it if things go wrong. And the ring? I saw you take it. He hadn't realized she'd noticed that. His hand went to his pocket automatically, feeling the small circle of metal through the fabric. I don't know, he admitted. I just couldn't leave it there. Something shifted in her expression, softened just slightly.
We should go, she said.
If we're early, we can scout the location. Find exits. They moved toward the door together. Then Jada stopped suddenly. Minho. He turned. There's something else I need to know. She took a breath. Did you expect this? Did you know I'd take the drive? The question hung between them, heavy with implications. Minho looked at her for a long moment. The woman who'd shared his bed for 4 years. The woman who knew his passwords, his habits, his weaknesses. No, he said finally. I didn't expect you to leave. I thought. He stopped, swallowed. I thought we were starting over. It wasn't the whole truth. But it wasn't a lie either. Jada studied his face, searching for deception. Then nodded once, decision made. Let's go. They left the apartment, moving carefully down the stairs. Minho first, checking corners, watching for Taesung's men. Jada close behind, the flash drive secure in her pocket. Outside, the alley was clear. Taesung's man in the sedan was still there, but not paying attention. Staring at his phone instead of watching the back exit.
Sloppy.
Or maybe intentional, a message that they weren't considered a threat. They slipped out onto the main street, walking quickly toward where Minho had left the borrowed motorcycle. You drove that here? Jada asked, surprise in her voice. It was faster than a car. Since when do you ride motorcycles? Since about an hour ago. For a moment, something like a smile flickered across her face. Then it was gone, replaced by the hard focus he recognized from her courtroom days. We'll take my car, she said, less conspicuous. Her Honda was parked a block away. They got in, Jada behind the wheel. As she started the engine, Minho's phone buzzed. A text from Taesung. Clock's ticking, Hyung. Don't be late. Beneath it, another photo of Jada. This one taken just minutes ago, as they left the apartment. Walking next to Minho, head down, coat pulled tight. He's still watching, Minho said, showing her the screen. Jada's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Let him watch. It'll make what happens next more satisfying. She pulled into traffic, heading toward Vermont Avenue. The restaurant was 15 minutes away in normal traffic. They had plenty of time to arrive early, scout the location. But as they drove, Minho noticed her hands were shaking slightly. The confident words hiding very real fear. Jada. She kept her eyes on the road. What? If this goes wrong? It won't. If it does, he pressed. I want you to know something. She glanced at him then, just for a second. What? I never meant for any of this to touch you. I thought I could keep those worlds separate. That was your first mistake, she said quietly. Thinking anything in your life wouldn't eventually touch the people close to you. They drove in silence for a few minutes, the weight of her words settling between them. Then, as they approached Vermont Avenue, Jada spoke again. This restaurant. You know it. Korean barbecue place. Open 24 hours. Good sight lines, multiple exits. Private booths in the back. You've used it before. It wasn't a question. She knew. Yes. She nodded, processing this. Another piece of his world she'd glimpsed, but never fully seen. Until now. They parked a block from the restaurant, leaving the car where it could be easily accessed if they needed a fast exit. Remember, Minho said as they got out. If something goes wrong, don't wait for me. Just run. Jada looked at him, something unreadable in her expression. I left you once already, she said. I'm not doing it again. Before he could respond, she was walking toward the restaurant, shoulders squared, head high. The posture he recognized from every courtroom battle she'd ever fought. Jada wasn't running anymore. She was facing this, whatever this turned out to be. Minho followed, wondering when exactly the woman who'd fled his penthouse with a stolen flash drive had transformed back into the fighter he'd fallen in love with 7 years ago, and whether it would be enough to save either of them. The restaurant at 955 Vermont Avenue looked ordinary from the outside. Just another Korean barbecue spot in a strip mall, red neon sign buzzing in the window, lunch rush just starting to trickle in. Min-ho and Jada stood across the street, watching. Taesung will have a table in the back, Min-ho said. Away from windows, close to the kitchen. Jada nodded, laptop bag clutched against her side. Her face was calm, but Min-ho could see the tension in her shoulders, the slight tremor in her hands. Remember the plan, she said. I start the decryption process. It looks legitimate, but I'm actually deleting everything. The moment I hit enter, we need a distraction. Kitchen fire alarm, Min-ho confirmed. I'll handle it. And if that doesn't work, then we improvise. It wasn't much of a backup plan. They both knew it. Min-ho had hidden his gun behind a dumpster 2 buildings down, somewhere he could retrieve it quickly if needed. Taesung's men would search him, and walking in armed would only escalate things immediately. Ready? He asked. Jada took a deep breath.
No.
But let's do it anyway. They crossed the street together, through the front doors, into the warm, noisy space that smelled of grilled meat and garlic. The restaurant was half full. Lunchtime customers at tables with built-in grills, steam rising from bowls of stew, waiters moving efficiently between tables. And there, in the back booth, just as Min-ho predicted, Taesung. Another man sat beside him, broad-shouldered and expressionless. One of his trusted enforcers. Taesung smiled as they approached, gesturing to the seats across from him. Right on time, he said. I appreciate punctuality. Min-ho slid into the booth, positioning himself between Jada and the enforcer. The table was small, forcing them all too close together. Let's get this over with, Min-ho said. Taesung nodded to his man, who stood and methodically patted Min-ho down. No gun. No knife. Nothing but his wallet and phone. The enforcer sat back down, satisfied. The drive, Taesung said, extending his hand toward Jada.
She didn't move. Not yet.
First we agree on terms. We already did. You decrypt the files, you both walk away. I need more than your word. Taesung's smile tightened. What do you want? A written contract. I want the boss on the phone, Jada said. I want to hear him agree that we're clear after this. Min-ho stiffened. This wasn't part of the plan. Involving the boss directly was dangerous, far more dangerous than dealing with just Taesung. The boss doesn't take calls from non-members, Taesung said. Especially not from someone who stole organization property. Then I guess we're done here. Jada started to rise. Min-ho caught her arm, giving her a warning look. Don't push.
Not yet.
Taesung sighed, pulling out his phone.
Fine.
But if he agrees to this, there's no more negotiation. You decrypt everything right now, and then you disappear. Both of you. He dialed, putting the phone on speaker and setting it on the table between them. 3 rings, then a voice, calm, unhurried, with a slight rasp of a long-time smoker. Yes. Sir, it's Taesung. I have the parties with me now. The woman wants your personal guarantee that they walk free after the transfer. A pause. Put her on. Taesung slid the phone closer to Jada. This is Jada Jefferson, she said, her lawyer voice in full effect. Ms. Jefferson, I understand you have something that belongs to my organization. I do. And I'm willing to return it, fully accessible. In exchange, Min-ho and I walk away.
Clean.
No surveillance, no threats, no contact. Another pause. You're asking for a lot, considering your position. I'm offering exactly what you want. A clean resolution before you land. The silence stretched. Min-ho watched Taesung, whose expression had gone carefully blank. Very well, the boss said finally. Return the drive and you have my word. This ends today.
Thank you, Jada said.
Don't thank me yet, Ms. Jefferson. Just remember, my organization doesn't offer second chances. The call ended. Taesung retrieved his phone, tucking it away. Satisfied, he asked. Jada nodded, pulling out her laptop. I'll need about 10 minutes. The encryption is complex. You have 5, Taesung countered. The boss lands at 6 p.m. I need time to verify everything before he arrives. Minho shifted slightly, positioning himself to see both Taesung and the exit to the kitchen. 5 minutes. That was tight, but doable. Jada's fingers moved over the keyboard, connecting the flash drive, opening programs. I'll need to enter several passwords, she explained, voice professional and detached. Then scan my thumbprint to unlock the biometric layer. Taesung watched her work, eyes never leaving the screen. His enforcer kept his attention on Minho, hand resting near his jacket pocket. Almost certainly armed. Minho tensed as a waitress approached their table. She set down glasses of water, asked if they wanted to order. Taesung waved her away impatiently. Jada's typing paused. I need to run a verification check before final decryption. This will take about 2 minutes. A progress bar appeared on screen, slowly filling. And then, Taesung asked, and then you have full access to everything on the drive. Minho caught her eye briefly, the real message passing between them.
Now.
It was time. As the progress bar reached 50%, Minho knocked over his water glass. It spilled across the table, liquid running toward the laptop. Sorry, he said, grabbing napkins. In the confusion, he leaned close to Jada. Fire alarm, he whispered.
Now.
She nodded slightly, fingers resuming their work as Taesung's enforcer mopped up the water. The progress bar hit 90%, 95%, 100%. It's ready, Jada said. Her finger hovered over the enter key. One last command, and you have full access. She pressed enter. For a moment, nothing happened. The screen showed a new progress bar. Finalizing. Taesung leaned forward, eager. His enforcer relaxed slightly, attention diverted to the screen. That's when Minho moved. He slid out of the booth, heading toward the restrooms, but took a sharp turn into the kitchen instead. The kitchen was chaos. Cooks shouting orders, flames leaping from woks, steam rising from pots. Minho spotted the fire alarm on the wall near the back exit. He reached for it just as a shout came from the dining room. Taesung's voice. Stop him. Minho yanked the alarm. Sirens blared throughout the restaurant. Sprinklers activated, water raining down on everything. Customers jumped up in confusion. Staff rushed to direct people toward exits. Perfect chaos. Minho headed back toward Jada, but Taesung's enforcer was already there, grabbing her arm. The laptop clattered to the floor, screen cracking. What did you do? Taesung demanded, face twisted with rage. The files, they're deleting. Jada tried to pull free. Let go of me. Minho launched himself at the enforcer, driving his shoulder into the larger man's chest. They crashed into a table, dishes shattering. Taesung lunged for the fallen flash drive. Jada kicked it away, sending it skidding under a nearby booth. The enforcer recovered quickly, pulling a knife from his jacket. Minho dodged the first slash, but the second caught his left shoulder. Pain flared, hot and sharp. He ignored it, driving his fist into the man's throat. The enforcer staggered, gasping. Jada was wrestling with Taesung now, trying to keep him from retrieving the drive. Water from the sprinklers soaked them both, making the floor slick and treacherous. Minho grabbed a metal serving tray, swinging it hard at the enforcer's head. The impact made a dull thunk. The man went down. Jada. Minho shouted over the alarm. We need to go. She broke free from Taesung, diving for the flash drive under the booth. Her fingers closed around it just as Taesung grabbed her ankle. You're not leaving with that, he snarled. Minho kicked Taesung's arm, hearing a satisfying crack. Taesung howled, releasing Jada. Come on. Minho pulled her to her feet. They ran for the back exit, past confused kitchen staff, through the fire door into the alley behind. The alarm continued to wail behind them. People spilled out onto Vermont Avenue, looking back at the restaurant in confusion. No actual fire, but plenty of chaos. Car, Minho gasped, feeling blood soaking through his shirt. The knife wound burned with each step. They ran down the alley, cutting through to the next street where they'd parked Jada's Honda. Minho stumbled, the pain in his shoulder intensifying. "Keys," Jada said, catching him before he fell. "I'll drive." He handed them over with bloody fingers. They reached the car, Jada helping him into the passenger seat before running around to the driver's side. The engine started on the first try. Jada pulled into traffic, hands shaking on the wheel. Her wrist was already bruising where Taesung's enforcer had grabbed her. "Did you get it?" Minho asked, pressing his hand against his bleeding shoulder. "The drive?" She nodded, pulling it from her pocket. "I wiped it. Complete deletion. There's nothing left for them to recover." "They'll come after us," he said, his voice tight with pain. "Taesung won't stop now." "Where should we go?" "Hospital."
No.
Hospitals reported knife wounds to police. "We need somewhere off-grid. Somewhere to regroup." Jada thought for a moment, navigating through traffic with jerky movements. "I know a place. Motel in Gardena. Cash only. No questions." Minho nodded, feeling lightheaded. Blood was seeping between his fingers despite the pressure. "How bad is it?" Jada asked, glancing at his shoulder. "I'll live."
Probably.
"Just drive." She took a sharp turn, heading south. Away from Koreatown. Away from everything familiar. "Taesung will call the boss," Minho said. "Tell him what happened. Let him. The files are gone. They can't prove anything now." Minho closed his eyes briefly, fighting the growing dizziness. "It's not that simple. The boss doesn't need proof. Just suspicion. So, what do we do? We need leverage." He forced his eyes open again. "Something to trade." "The drive is empty, Minho. We have nothing." "They don't know that." "Not for sure." He shifted, wincing as pain lanced through his shoulder. Taesung saw the deletion starting, but he didn't see it finish. "You think we can bluff?" "I think it's our only option." Jada drove in silence for a few minutes, weaving through afternoon traffic. Behind them, sirens wailed, police or fire, responding to the alarm at the restaurant. "Your shoulder needs stitches," she said finally. "I know. I can do it. If we get supplies." Minho looked at her, surprised. "Since when do you know how to stitch wounds?" "Since I married you," she said quietly. "I learned a lot of things I never wanted to know." The weight of those words hung between them as they drove. Everything they'd lost. Everything they'd become because of each other. "I'm sorry," Minho said. "For which part?" "All of it." Jada's eyes remained fixed on the road. "We're not there yet." "Where?" "The place where sorry means anything." She turned onto the freeway, heading south toward Gardena. The motel where no one would ask questions. Where they could hide and plan and maybe, if they were very lucky, survive the next 24 hours. The flash drive sat between them on the console. Empty. Useless. And yet, somehow still valuable. Because sometimes, what people believe is more powerful than what's true. And right now, belief was the only weapon they had left. The motel stood at the edge of Gardena, a single-story L-shaped building with peeling paint and a flickering vacancy sign. The kind of place that had seen better decades, not just better days. Perfect. Jada pulled into the parking lot, choosing a spot near the end where the car wouldn't be visible from the street. Minho's shoulder had soaked through his shirt and jacket, a spreading dark stain that made her stomach clench every time she glanced over. "Wait here," she said, killing the engine. The office was empty except for an older man watching a small TV mounted on the wall. He barely looked up when she approached the counter. "Room for the night," Jada said, pulling cash from her wallet. "At the back if you have it." The man nodded, taking her money without comment. No ID requested. No registration form. Just a key with a plastic tag marked 12 slid across the counter. "Checkout's noon," he said, already turning back to his show. Jada drove to the far end of the building. Room 12 was tucked into a corner, away from the street and other rooms. She helped Minho out of the car, his arm heavy across her shoulders as they made their way to the door. Inside, the room was exactly what she expected. Beige walls. Worn carpet. A queen bed with a sagging middle. A TV that probably got 3 channels on a good day. But it was clean enough and, more importantly, anonymous. Minho sank onto the edge of the bed, face pale with pain and blood loss. "First aid kit in the car," Jada said. "I'll be right back." She returned with her emergency kit and a plastic bag from the vending machine outside, bottled water, some snacks, and a small sewing kit she'd spotted near the ice machine. Not ideal, but it would have to do. Minho had managed to remove his jacket, but was struggling with his shirt, the fabric sticking to his wound. "Let me," she said, setting everything on the dresser. She helped him ease the shirt off, wincing at the 6-inch gash across his left shoulder. Deep enough to need stitches, but not deep enough to hit anything vital.
Small blessing.
"This is going to hurt," she warned, opening the first aid kit. "It already hurts." She cleaned the wound first, using antiseptic wipes from the kit. Minho hissed through his teeth, but didn't pull away. Next, she threaded a needle from the sewing kit, sterilizing it with a lighter she found in the bedside drawer. "Where did you learn this?" Minho asked as she prepared to stitch. "YouTube. After that time you came home with a cut on your back you wouldn't explain." She positioned the needle. "Hold still." The first stitch made him flinch. The second was easier. By the third, he'd mastered the pain, his breathing steady and controlled. "You're good at this," he said, watching her work. "I'm a quick study." Her voice was flat. "Especially when my husband keeps coming home injured." She tied off the last stitch and covered the wound with gauze from the kit, taping it securely. Blood had dried on his chest and arm. She dampened a washcloth from the bathroom and wiped it away, her movements clinical, detached. "Thank you," he said when she finished. Jada nodded, packing up the supplies. Her wrist was purple now where Taesung's enforcer had grabbed her. She flexed it, testing the pain. Not broken, just bruised. Minho caught her hand, examining the bruise. "I'm sorry," he said. She pulled away gently. "It's not your fault." "It is. All of this is." Jada sank into the chair by the window, suddenly exhausted. The adrenaline crash hitting her all at once. "What time is it?" she asked. Minho checked his watch. "Almost 2:30. The boss lands at 6. "Yes." "And Taesung will tell him what happened." "Yes." She rubbed her eyes. "So we have 3.5 hours to figure out how to stay alive." Minho shifted on the bed, wincing as the movement pulled at his stitches. "We need to think this through. The drive is wiped. The files are gone. But like I said in the car, they don't know that for certain." "You think we can convince them the deletion failed?" "Maybe. If we're convincing enough." Jada pulled the flash drive from her pocket, turning it over in her fingers. Such a small thing to cause so much trouble. "The boss already agreed to let us walk if we handed it over. What if we just stick to that? Tell him we still have the files, but we'll only transfer them if he honors the original deal? He won't believe us after what happened at the restaurant. What choice do we have?
Run?
Where? How far do we have to go before your organization stops looking?" Minho didn't answer. They both knew there was no safe distance. "Not really. There's another option," he said finally. "We go to the feds." Jada stared at him. "Witness protection? It's a way out. New identities. New location. New lives," she finished. "Away from everything and everyone we know." Minho nodded. "It would mean testifying. Against the organization. Against people I've worked with for years. Against the boss." Yes. The weight of that hung between them. It wasn't just a change of address. It was a complete erasure of who they were. "Is that what you want?" Jada asked. "I want." He stopped, reconsidering. "I want this to be over. I want you safe. I want a life where I don't have to look over my shoulder every 5 minutes." "We had that chance once," she said quietly. "When we first got married. You could have walked away then." "It's not that simple. It never is with you." She stood abruptly, moving to the window, pulling the curtain back just enough to check the parking lot. "Still clear. Every time I thought we were close to normal, something would happen. A phone call, a meeting. You'd disappear for days. I was protecting you. You were protecting yourself." She turned to face him. "You liked the power, Minho. The money. The respect. Don't pretend you didn't. He couldn't deny it. Not truthfully. Yes, he admitted. I did. Jada nodded, unsurprised. That's why I left a year ago. Not because I stopped loving you. Because I couldn't keep pretending we were working toward the same future. And now.
Now.
She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Now we're hiding in a motel room with an empty flash drive and a target on our backs. I'd say we're finally in the same place. Minho reached for his jacket, wincing at the movement. He pulled something from the pocket, her engagement ring. The one she'd left on his nightstand with the note. Why did you take this? She asked. I don't know. He turned the ring in his fingers, the diamond catching the dim light. Maybe for the same reason you kept the apartment. Something to hold on to. Jada sat back down, the fight draining out of her. We made such a mess of things. We did. So what now? The feds? The boss? Run and hope for the best. Minho set the ring on the bedside table. I think we need to do what Taesung least expects. Which is, face the boss directly, before Taesung gets to him. Jada stared. You're serious? Think about it. The boss agreed to our deal on the phone. If we go to him first, tell him what happened, that Taesung attacked us, forced our hand, we might have a chance. And the drive. We claim the deletion was stopped midway. That there are still recoverable files. Enough to be valuable. That's a big gamble. It is. Minho looked at her directly. But it's the only one where we might walk away with something resembling our lives. Jada considered it, weighing impossible options. When does his flight land? 6 p.m. at LAX. He'll go straight to his hotel downtown. So, we intercept him there. She nodded slowly. It could work. Or it could get us killed faster. If we go to the feds, we lose everything. If we run, we're looking over our shoulders forever. Minho shifted, sitting up straighter despite the pain. This way, we at least have a chance. A small one. Better than none. They fell silent, each lost in their own thoughts. The motel room felt smaller somehow, the walls pressing in with the weight of their decisions. Jada checked her phone. Still powered off from earlier. She turned it on, waiting as it booted up. What are you doing? Minho asked. If we're meeting the boss, I need to know what Taesung's told him. She pulled up a messaging app, typing quickly. I still have contacts at my old firm. People who hear things. Be careful. They might be watching your accounts. They might, she agreed. But right now, information is worth the risk. While Jada worked on her phone, Minho moved carefully to the bathroom. The wound made his left arm nearly useless, but he managed to clean up, washing away the remaining blood and sweat from the restaurant fight. When he came out, Jada was staring at her phone, face pale. What is it? The restaurant. It's all over social media. Gang-related incident at a Koreatown barbecue spot. 3 injured. She looked up at him. There are photos of us leaving through the back. Minho crossed to her, looking at the screen. Blurry images, but recognizable enough. Him bleeding. Her pulling him toward the alley. Taesung in the background, face twisted with rage. This changes things, he said. If the photos are out there, the boss has already seen them. So, our story is blown before we even tell it. Not necessarily. Minho took her phone, studying the images. These show Taesung attacking us. That supports our version of events. Or it proves we're the ones who started the trouble. It's a matter of who tells the story first, Minho said. And better. Jada took her phone back, turning it off again. So we stick with the plan. Meet the boss. Offer the drive. Hope he believes us over Taesung. Yes. Minho sat next to her, their shoulders almost touching. But there's one more thing we need to discuss. What? After. If this works. If we walk away clean. She looked at him, really looked. The man she'd married. The man she'd left. The man she'd tried to save. Let's survive first, she said quietly. Then we'll talk about after. Minho nodded, accepting the non-answer. His hand found hers on the bed between them. She didn't pull away. "We should rest," she said. "If we're facing the boss tonight, we need to be sharp. You take the bed. I'll keep watch." With a knife wound and blood loss? No. She stood, moving to the chair by the window. "I'll watch. You sleep." He started to argue, then thought better of it. She was right. He needed rest if he was going to be any use tonight. "Wake me in 2 hours," he said, stretching out on the bed. "I will." He was asleep almost instantly, the events of the day finally catching up to him. Jada watched him for a moment, this man who'd been the center of her world for so long. Then she turned back to the window, keeping guard against whatever might come next. On the nightstand, the ring caught the afternoon light, glinting like a promise neither of them was sure they could keep. Outside, a car pulled into the motel lot. Then another. Both black sedans with tinted windows. Jada's breath caught. She watched as men emerged from both vehicles. 4 total, moving with purpose toward the motel office. "Min-ho," she said urgently, shaking him awake. "They found us." Min-ho. He was awake instantly, years of survival instinct overriding the pain and exhaustion. He saw Jada at the window, her body tense, face tight with fear. Black sedans. 4 men, heading to the office. Min-ho moved to the window, peering through the narrow gap in the curtains. The men wore dark suits despite the afternoon heat. 2 had their hands inside their jackets, definitely armed. "Taesungs?" Jada asked.
No.
Min-ho recognized one of them. "The boss's personal security. He's here already."
How?
"His flight doesn't land until 6. Private jet. Changed plans." Min-ho grabbed his shirt, pulling it on despite the pain. "We need to move."
Now.
They gathered their few belongings quickly. Min-ho checked the back window, clear for now, opening onto an empty lot behind the motel. "This way," he said, easing the window open. His injured shoulder screamed in protest, but he ignored it. Jada went through first, then helped pull him out. The fresh stitches tore, warm blood seeping through his shirt again. They moved across the empty lot toward a strip mall on the next block, staying low, using parked cars for cover. "They're checking rooms," Jada said, glancing back. Men moving down the line of doors, pounding on each one. "We need a car." Mine's blocked in. Min-ho spotted an older Toyota in the strip mall parking lot, keys dangling from the ignition while the driver ran into a convenience store. "There." They moved quickly, sliding into the car before the owner returned. Min-ho started the engine one-handed, his left arm nearly useless now. "I'm sorry," he said as they pulled away. "For stealing a car? Add it to the list." They drove in tense silence, taking side streets, doubling back to make sure they weren't followed. The car's previous owner had left the radio on, local news reporting a disturbance at a Koreatown restaurant. 3 injured. Police investigating. No mentions of names. "Where are we going?" Jada finally asked. "The boss will be at the Imperial Hotel downtown. Top floor suite. That's where he always stays when he's in LA. We're still going through with the plan? Meeting him directly?" "It's our only chance," Min-ho said. "They found us at the motel. They'll find us anywhere we run. Better to face this now, on our terms." "What terms?" "We have an empty flash drive and a story he probably won't believe. Then we make him believe it." Downtown LA loomed ahead, glass towers catching the late afternoon sun. The Imperial was one of the tallest, 60 floors of luxury, with a rooftop restaurant reserved for VIPs only. "We can't just walk in," Jada said. "Not looking like this." She gestured to Min-ho's blood-stained shirt, her own disheveled appearance. "Service entrance. I know people in the kitchen." "Of course you do." They abandoned the stolen car 3 blocks from the hotel, walking the rest to avoid the valet stand. Min-ho led them down an alley to a loading dock where hotel staff received deliveries and took smoke breaks. A young man in a kitchen uniform stood outside, cigarette in hand. He straightened when he saw Min-ho. "Mr. Jang. It's been a while." "Jun-ho," Min-ho nodded. "I need to get upstairs without being seen." The young man glanced at Min-ho's bloody shirt, Jada's bruised wrist. Decided not to ask questions. Staff elevator. Third floor, then switched to the executive lift. He handed Minho his key card. The boss arrived an hour ago. Whole top floor's locked down. He'll see me. Junho looked doubtful but nodded. Whatever you say, sir. Inside, they followed Junho's directions, navigating service corridors to avoid the main lobby. The staff elevator took them to the third floor, where they crossed to a private elevator bank reserved for the most expensive suites. Last chance to change your mind, Minho said as they stepped inside. Jada looked at him, really looked. The man she'd married. The man she'd left. The man she'd tried to save by taking that damn flash drive. No turning back now. The elevator ascended silently to the top floor. When the doors opened, two men in dark suits waited, hands at their sides near concealed weapons. Mr. Zhang, one said. The boss is expecting you. Minho showed no surprise. Of course the boss knew they were coming. He probably knew the moment they entered the building. They were escorted down a hushed hallway to a set of double doors. One guard knocked, then opened the door without waiting for a response. The presidential suite was vast, floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of Los Angeles. The boss sat in a leather chair, back to the door, facing the sunset. A small, silver-haired man in an impeccable suit. And standing nearby, face still bruised from the restaurant fight, Taesung. Hyung, he said, smiling tightly. I'm surprised you had the courage to come here. Minho ignored him, focusing on the man in the chair. Sir. The boss turned slowly. Kwon Sung-jin was in his 60s, with a lined face that had seen everything and forgiven nothing. His eyes, sharp, assessing, moved from Minho to Jada and back again. Minho, he said, voice gentle despite the tension in the room. You look terrible. It's been a difficult day. So I hear. The boss gestured to the couch across from him.
Sit.
Both of you. They sat. Minho wincing slightly as his shoulder touched the back of the couch. Taesung has told me an interesting story, the boss continued.
About theft.
Betrayal. Violence in a public restaurant. He looked at Jada. And about you, Ms. Jefferson. Taking things that don't belong to you. With respect, she said, voice steady despite her fear, I think you've heard only one version of events.
True.
That's why you're still alive. I'd like to hear yours. Jada glanced at Minho, who nodded slightly. Go ahead. I took the drive because I thought it was putting Minho in danger. I thought if it was destroyed, the threats would stop.
She paused.
I didn't know it belonged to the organization. I thought it was his personal insurance. And was it? The boss looked at Minho. I used it to protect her, Minho admitted. Kept her name out of reports. Made sure she remained untouchable. Against protocol. Yes. The boss nodded, unsurprised. And the restaurant? The deleted files? Taesung attacked us, Jada said. Threatened us. We defended ourselves. After you refused to hand over organization property, Taesung interjected. After you tried to leverage it for your own advancement, Minho countered. The room went silent. The boss's expression revealed nothing. The drive, he said finally. Where is it now? Jada reached into her pocket, producing the flash drive. Here. And the files? Partially deleted, Minho said. When Taesung's man attacked, the process was interrupted. Some data remains, but it's corrupted. It was a lie, a complete lie. The drive was empty. Everything was gone. But it was the only play they had left. The boss held out his hand. Jada hesitated, then placed the drive in his palm. We had an agreement, Minho reminded him. On the phone. If we return the drive, we walk away. Clean. That was before half of Koreatown saw you bleeding in a restaurant, the boss replied. Before police reports. Before social media photos. Which wouldn't have happened if Taesung hadn't escalated things, Jada said. The boss looked at Taesung. Is this true? Did you attack them publicly? Taesung shifted uncomfortably. Sir. They were refusing to comply. The woman was deleting the files. I had to act. In a crowded restaurant? With civilians present. I was protecting organization interests. You were protecting your own ambition. The boss cut him off. And now I have police attention, media attention, everything we avoid. The room went silent again. Min-ho watched the boss carefully, trying to read the older man's thoughts. Impossible as always. Here's what's going to happen, the boss said finally. Tae-sung, you'll handle the cleanup. Police reports disappear. Witnesses forget what they saw. Social media posts get removed. His voice was calm but left no room for argument. You created this mess, you fix it. Yes, sir. And when that's done, we'll discuss your future with the organization. Tae-sung paled slightly, understanding the implicit threat. The boss turned back to Min-ho and Jada. As for you two. He weighed the flash drive in his hand. I'll have our technical team examine this. If anything useful remains, perhaps we can consider our original agreement. And if not, Min-ho asked, then you've returned an empty drive after causing considerable problems. The boss smiled thinly. Which would change our terms significantly. Jada tensed beside Min-ho. He could feel her preparing to argue, to fight back. He touched her hand, a silent warning. Not yet. Either way, the boss continued, you have 24 hours to leave California. If I see either of you again, if I hear your names again, there will be no further conversation. Sir, Min-ho began. That's my final offer, Min-ho. Take it or don't leave this room. The choice was clear. Min-ho nodded slowly. Thank you, sir. Don't thank me. Just disappear. The boss turned back to the window, dismissing them. And Min-ho? Next time you fall in love, choose someone who doesn't make you weak. Sunset painted the freeway orange and gold as they drove east. Min-ho was at the wheel despite his injured shoulder, grimacing with each gear shift but refusing to let Jada drive. Stubborn as always. They'd retrieved Jada's car from near the motel, abandoned now, Tae-sung's men long gone. Everything they owned was either in the trunk or left behind forever. Vegas first, Min-ho said. Then maybe Arizona. New Mexico. That's not a plan. It's a start. They lapsed into silence. The Los Angeles skyline shrank in the rearview mirror, becoming just another collection of lights as darkness fell. Do you think it worked? Jada finally asked. The bluff about the drive? Doesn't matter now. Even if they discover it's empty, we'll be gone. Gone where, though? How far do we have to run before we're really free? Min-ho had no answer for that. Freedom was a relative term in their world. They might leave LA, but the shadow of what happened would follow them. I'm sorry, he said, the words feeling inadequate. For all of it. Jada looked out at the darkening desert. I know. I never meant for you to get caught in this. Yes, you did. She turned to face him. Maybe not consciously, but you brought me into your world, knowing what it was. Knowing the risks. He couldn't argue with that. It was true. I loved you, she said softly. That's why I took the drive. I thought I could save you from yourself. And now I don't know if either of us can be saved. Min-ho's phone buzzed in his pocket. Unknown number. His jaw tightened. Them? Probably. Are you going to answer? He looked at the phone, then at the open road ahead. At Jada beside him, watching him make yet another choice that would affect them both. He rolled down the window, tossed the ringing phone onto the highway behind them. That answers that, Jada said. The silence between them felt different now. Not comfortable, exactly, but not as heavy as before. Jada reached into her pocket, pulling out her engagement ring. The one Min-ho had carried since she left it on the nightstand with her goodbye note. The one he'd handed back to her at the motel. You should keep this, she said, offering it to him. Why? Sell it. We need the money more than the memories. Min-ho glanced at the ring, then back at the road. Keep it. Min-ho. Not to wear, he clarified. Just keep it. For now. Jada studied his profile in the dim light from the dashboard. The man she'd married. The man she'd left. The man she was now fleeing with toward an uncertain future. Ask me again, she said quietly. In a year. When we're somewhere safe. And if I do. She looked down at the ring in her palm, then slipped it into her pocket. Then maybe I'll say yes. Minho's hands tightened on the steering wheel, the split knuckles from the restaurant fight still raw and painful. But for the first time in days, he felt something close to hope. The highways stretched ahead, empty and dark. Behind them, Los Angeles faded into the night. Before them lay what? A new life? A chance to start over? Or just another version of running? They didn't know.
Couldn't know.
But they were together. And for now, that was enough. The stolen car ate up the miles, carrying them east. Away from everything they'd known. Toward whatever came next. Minho glanced at Jada, who had fallen asleep against the window, her face finally peaceful after the chaos of the day. He turned back to the road, alone with his thoughts and the weight of all his choices. The ring was in her pocket, not on her finger but not thrown away either. Somewhere in between. Like them. Not together. Not apart. Just possible. And in their world, possibility was the closest thing to freedom they were likely to find. Thank you so much for staying with me until the very end of this story. If you enjoyed this story, I promise you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more thrilling as you can ever imagine. So, do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one. And if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button so you never miss our upcoming stories. See you on the next one.